SABMiller reporting a 3% drop in third quarter volumes in China, a decline attributed to China's coldest winter in 28 years. Now, the global brewer saw revenues increasing by 17%. That's compared to a year ago on a reported basis, or 8% in constant currency terms. Joining us on the line to discuss more on this, Julian Wentzel, Head of Research at Macquarie. Thanks so much for joining us today, Julian. So, overall, just looking at those numbers coming through, it seems there has been some disappointment in the growth in volumes coming through from SABMiller. What stood out for you? Because we talked about the China figures and those influenced by the winter in China, but what stood out on the day for you?
I think yes. I think the market got slightly fixated at the volume numbers, but they're slightly distorted by the scale of the volume in China and the negative effect that has on the overall gross volume number that's reported. But if you really look through the numbers, this is all about the Southern Hemisphere summer. And if one looks at the Southern Hemisphere, I suppose, the scorecard looks rather good, barring Australia. South Africa up 3%. That's a very big number considering that last year, same period, was a record quarter for SABMiller in South Africa. You've also got Castle Lite continuing to power ahead, up 20%. Continue to take share from its core competitors in the market. So I think that's a very pleasing result, and obviously to a degree offset by the weakness in the rand, but nonetheless I think the profitability of the South African business would have been very strong in the quarter. Similarly, if one looks at Latin America, we've got a significant return to growth in Colombia up 7%, the region up 6%. You take the two regions combined, our estimation over the period, they probably contribute nearly 60% of total group net income. So, I think those two core drive markets, very important for SABMiller, very strong results, very pleasing. Yep. I suppose the concern is the ongoing declines that we're seeing in Australia. The market remains weak, particularly SABMiller's position in the market. Since taking over the business, we've got precipitous declines in volume. Yes, I would say that there is some bright spots there. I think, it takes time to take on a business, implement a new strategy. The management team led by Ari Mervis, I think, have done an enormous amount of work, and we're yet to see the full fruits of that. But Victoria Bitter growing for the first time in a decade, very pleasing. Hopefully that business will turn around. But they've got an enormous amount of flexibility here because of the significant reduction in the net coupon they're paying on the debt. That gives them about $180 million to play with per annum whilst they turn this asset around. But the Australian market's under pressure. Australia's suffering from Dutch disease, and that puts pressure on the consumer. So I think, being a dominant player in the market, they're going to feel that pressure.
Just talking about China, I mean, in terms of volumes, as you say, it does have an impact on the overall number. But in terms of profitability, it's still not a market that has a huge dent on the bottom line. I mean, what are your prospects for China when it comes to earnings potential? And how's that translating into the type of strategy you're seeing from SABMiller?
Yeah, I think what people get wrong about China, it's not about margins, it's more about your net revenue per hectoliter. And still, the product is unbelievably cheap. You're talking 35 US cents a liter on average for beer in China. It's all about getting the price to inflate. Once that price inflates, you start getting a proper net return per hectoliter. So they sell a hell of a lot of beer in China, but it's sold at a very cheap price. My sense is SABMiller very well positioned in the market. The Snow brand is now the world's largest brand. It's about converting that into a premiumization strategy, about drifting customers up the price ladder. And as they do that, then the profitability will flow through. But that's not going to happen anytime soon. That's going to be a 5 to 10 year story.